ceremonies, Ian Weatherman.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to TED Talk Night. My name is Ian Weatherman, and I'll be your MC tonight. Now, let me give you a few facts on TED Talks. 1. TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. 2. Many famous people have taken part in TED Talks, including Billy Graham, Al Gore, Jane Goodall, and Bill Gates. 3. TED Talks were born from a 1984 conference that included a demo of the compact disc and an ebook. Now let's get started with our first one. Long before we began taking off our shoes at airport security or eating tiny pretzels in an aisle seat, the Wright brothers had to find a way to get us off the ground. Charley Boor is going to tell us all about that first flight.
The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, invented the first ever airplane, successfully flying their first glider in 1900 and their first airplane in 1903. Wilbur was born in 1867 in Millville, Indiana, and died in 1912 with a disease called typhoid fever, which was incurable at the time. Orville was born in 1871 in Dayton, Ohio, and died in 1948 because of a second heart attack. Although they were born 4 years apart, Wilbur still died at a younger age. They both died of suffering through something, but when Wilbur was dying, Orville still wouldn't give up on him after a long time of him suffering. He said, "He's not going to die, I'm sure he'll make it." Wilbur and Orville didn't graduate high school. In fact, not many kids graduated high school back in their time. Wilbur didn't graduate high school because he got hit in the face with a baseball bat, and Orville didn't graduate high school because he wanted to start his own printing business. As kids, his parents were very strict but very loving. The Wrights had 7 kids, so that might have been the problem. Wilbur and Orville invented and made many gliders and planes, their furthest flying glider traveling 600 feet, and their furthest airplane traveling 25 miles. What I have here is a model of the airplane that I made out of cardboard and K'NEX Legos. The gliders that they made weren't really made for people, but they were able to make 2 or 3 gliders that people could ride in. People could get about a 10-second ride in one of these gliders before it came down to the ground. These brothers tried and failed nearly 100 times to fly, Orville being the first to fly in a motor-powered glider. This specific glider was only off the ground for 12 seconds. They both weren't the first to fly because their father asked them not to fly together because if the plane crashed and one got hurt, the other would too. The first thing the Wright brothers ever tried to get to fly was a motor-powered kite, but it didn't fly because it wouldn't lift off the ground. But they kept on trying and trying to fulfill their dream. They never gave up until they were finally able to fly. Another example of someone who didn't give up was Michael Jordan, who tried out for the basketball team in high school but didn't make it. So every single day he forced himself to shoot 500 free throws to get better. So his next year in high school when he tried out for the team, he made it. Another person who never gave up was J.K. Rowling, the writer of Harry Potter, who got divorced and couldn't even feed her baby or get her books typed on a computer or published. Also, Billy Misk, a professional boxer, had a record of 48 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties when he was diagnosed with a kidney disease by his doctor. At the time, his family was poor and his doctor recommended he quit his job. But he kept on boxing and didn't even tell his wife about his kidney problem. Even though he was very sick, he kept on making money for him and his family. Okay, back to the Wright brothers. Before they successfully flew, they owned a bicycle shop. When they flew their first flight, Theodore Roosevelt was president. Teddy had an 8-year term serving as president through the years 1901 to 1909, and the Wright brothers' first flight was one of the important events in his 8-year term. Here's a video I got off YouTube that shows one of their first flights.
All right, one moment, please. It's going now. Is it going now? Oh. Not anymore.
Wow, that was quite different from how we fly today. It even looked like they were flying the plane backwards. The Wright brothers' dad was a bishop at United Brethren in Christ. As I said, the Wrights had 7 kids. Their names were, in order of birth, Reuchlin, Lauren, Wilbur, Otis, Ida, Orville, and Catherine. Otis and Ida were twins, but they both died less than a month after their birth. Otis died with a disease called jaundice, and Ida, the first girl the Wrights had, died with a disease called marasmus. Milton Wright married Susan Coroner in 1859 when he was 31 and she was 28. Together they had their 7 kids. Wilbur Wright died 29 years before Orville at age 45. Orville died at age 76. Now I'll talk about some times I didn't give up. Well, I actually about gave up on writing this TED Talk, trying to get started. Finding a topic to do it on was pretty easy, but writing a persuasive talk was hard because I was too focused on how long it had to be or just about writing facts. Another time that I didn't give up was when I couldn't figure out how to do 2-digit multiplication or long division. Now I'll talk about some times some people I know didn't give up. One example is kids on my sports teams who struggled figuring out certain areas. Another example is 3 adults that I know that have cancer, one that has had it for 2 years. Another example is my grandma, whose family was struggling for survival when she was a baby, living only in a trailer next to a gas station. But her mom kept on working to make money to buy a better house. The last people I would talk about that didn't give up are my parents, who didn't give up after having me as a child and having yet 3 more children. So thank you for that, Mom and Dad. What I enjoy about having lots of kids, well, being the oldest for starters, is that we get to teach each other new things we learn, and my favorite is having game nights over the weekends and over breaks like spring break, winter break. I also enjoyed having 3 pets to play with. It was great. But then my fish died, and we sold my cats to a farmer because, well, the truth is, because they did their business in undefined spots in the house, like on the carpet, out in the open, on my piano bag. Speaking of piano, that's another thing I wanted to give up on. But as my dad said, if you quit now, you won't be able to pick back up on it quickly later in life. In piano, my teachers let us do 2 recitals a year for our parents, and then we get to travel for one of our recitals. The first recital I traveled for was last summer when we went to St. Louis. There are judges in these recitals, and if you get 95% or above, then you get a trophy. Last year I got 95% or above on all my pieces, so I got 2 trophies. My brother also did the competition and won 2 trophies as well. The hard thing that got me stressed about this competition is that you have to memorize your pieces. I can learn the pieces exceptionally well, but memorizing them, that was hard. So hard I gave up on playing it for I guess about a minute. But I kept on trying, practicing a lot of minutes each day to improve my skills on memorizing things, like schoolwork and how to do things. It took me a while to easily memorize, but thankfully, I did not give up on my dream. The Wright brothers, Michael Jordan, J.K. Rowling, and Billy Misk are great examples of people who never gave up on their dreams. What I want you to go and do is never give up, especially on your dreams. Now go, fulfill your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. If you've ever admired the shape of a new building, or spent time gazing at a work of art, or just watching the movie, then you'll appreciate Ethan Long's presentation on creativity and imagination.
Creativity. People will think, what's the use of it? My name is Ethan Long, and I have come here to answer that question. My little sister, Natalie, owns a book called Not a Box. It is a book where a rabbit finds a box, and he starts to play with it. Then he meets a dictator, and when he starts to play with the box, the dictator is watching him, and he was just starting to play with it. The dictator said, "Why are you sitting in that box?" And he said, "It's not a box. Don't you see it? I'm driving a race car." And then he was standing on the box. And the dictator said, "Why are you standing on that box?" He said, "It's not a box. Don't you see it? I'm standing on top of the highest mountain." And then he was squirting a box. And then the dictator said, "Why are you squirting that box?" And he said, "It's not a box. Don't you see it? I'm squirting a burning building." Then he was wearing the box. And the dictator said, "Why are you wearing that box?" And he said, "It's not a box. Don't you see it? I'm a robot." And then he was playing with it some more, and the dictator said, "You're still standing around in that box?" And he said, "It's not a box. It's a tugboat. It's a pirate ship." And he was just about to pretend to be in a spaceship when the dictator got smart. This dictator realized this box was no ordinary box. This box was special. And so he said, "Well, if it's not a box, what is it then?" And he said, "It's my not a box." So why did I use this book to explain creativity? All it has is a dictator, a box, and a rabbit. It's no big fancy book. Well, I was searching for any books that would go on to any topic I liked. And the reason this book said creativity to my mind was because he was imagining. He was imagining to be in a spaceship and a rocket ship. And I thought imagination was really a big part of creativity, and that creativity was really important in life. But I thought that was my opinion. But I researched it anyways. But the first thing I saw said, creativity is one of the most important skills you will ever develop in your life. No animal or supercomputer can match the human creative thinking capability. This made me think, wow, humans, we're specially gifted with creative thinking. And I also found the example that said, what if you were working in an office and you came up with the creative idea that would save the company time and money? Well, I thought that guy would get really rewarded for his creative thinking, and that company would really grow. But what about our lives? How can we be creative? Well, think of names from the past. Edison invented the light bulb when nobody even thought it was possible. And Da Vinci not only painted the Mona Lisa, but he made tanks and cannons. But we'll never be like them. We're not going to go down in history, but it's only a matter of time before one of us comes up with a great idea that will go in history. But how can we do that? Well, we can be artists and use our creativity for life. We can construct and plan towers. We can do any job. If we have siblings, you might be able to inspire them. We can inspire in our future. We can even inspire ourselves. We can learn. We can use new items. We can think of creative projects for class. We can change the world. We can be leaders. We can become teachers, adventurers, even president. Now I've shown you a lot more about creative thinking, and I hope you take these ideas and you use them well in the future. Also remember the book Not a Box, and remember not to be the dictator, but be the Bonnie. Thank you.